All right, the first thing that I would like you to do is go ahead and check the homework from last night. These problems were assigned from page 21 in lesson 1-4. So go ahead, take a look at this. Go ahead and pause the screen, and then when you're finished, go ahead and hit play to continue on. Today's lesson is going to be day 2 of adding and subtracting fractions with unlike denominators. You'll notice that yesterday they were all pretty simple problems to solve, but today what we're going to work on is when you have to borrow in your subtracting. There's a little bit more of a process that is involved in that. So let's go ahead and take a look. First of all, just reviewing quick, when you review, you have to have or when you subtract, you have to have a common denominator. So in this problem, our common denominator is going to be 28. So we'll go ahead and change both of those denominators to 28. And in order to get this one to 28, you multiplied by 4. So 4 times 3 gives you 12. To get this one to 28, you're multiplying by 7, so that's going to take you to 7. From here, then you can keep the denominators the same, and you can subtract 12 minus 7 is 5. Make sure that your answer is in lowest terms, and then you're ready to move on. So 5/28 is our answer there. Second problem, our common denominator would be 30. The whole number of 4 stays. We're going to change the 5 to a 30 by multiplying by 6. So you also have to multiply the 6 by 4 to get 24. And then we have to change that 6 in the second fraction to a 30 as well by multiplying by 5. So 2 times 5 is 10. Then from here you subtract your numerators, which makes that 14 denominator stays as 30, whole number stays as 4. Make sure your answer is in lowest terms, so you'll notice that 14 and 30 can both be divided by 2, so that's going to change into 7/15, but the whole number stays as 4. So your final answer is 4 and 7/15. Now sometimes when you subtract, you'll notice like in this problem, I can't take 5/6 from 2/3. If I do have a common denominator, which I still have to do, my common denominator is going to become 2 and 4/6. So I've multiplied the 3 by 2 to get 6, the 2 by 2 to get 6. And then the 1 and 5/6 is going to stay because that already has a denominator of 6. Now, when you look at this, I can't take 5/6 from 4/6, but what I do know is that 1 is equal to 6/6. So since I have 2 and 4/6, what I can do is I can borrow one of these two and add that 6/6 to the 4/6. So this is also equivalent to 1, and 6/6 plus 4/6 is 10/6. So now I have 1 and 10/6 minus 1 and 5/6. So what I've done here is I've converted my fraction. They're still equal. I have not changed the fraction. I've just converted it to another fraction that's of equal terms. So I've borrowed from the whole, and I know that 6/6 equals 1, so then I add the 6/6 to the 4/6 to create 1 and 10/6. So now that I have a common denominator and I can take 5/6 from 10/6, I can go ahead and subtract. Starting with the fraction piece, 10/6 minus 5/6 is 5/6, and 1 minus 1 is 0. So my final answer is just 5/6. Let's go ahead and try another one. So the first thing I need to do here is I need to find a common denominator. My common denominator is 35. So I'm going to change both of my fractions, leave the whole number as the whole number that's given, but both fractions need a denominator of 35. 7 was multiplied by 5 to get 35, so 2 times 5 is 10. 5 was multiplied by 7 to get 35, so 4 times 7 is 28. I cannot take 28 from 10, so I'm going to borrow from the whole number, make that a 4, and if I borrow 1, remember 1 whole in this case is equal to 35 over 35. So I need to add this to the current fraction that I already have of 10/35. So now my whole number is 4, but the 35/35 that I borrowed with the 10/35 makes that 45/35. And then I'm subtracting 2 and 28/35. So from here, you're just going to go ahead and subtract. Subtract starting with your fraction. 45 minus 28 is going to give me 17 and 17/35 because the denominator does not change. And then 4 minus 2 is 2. That fraction is in lowest terms, so I know I'm finished. So think about this. If I have 3/4 and I'm subtracting it from nothing, I can't do that. So what I have to do is I have to borrow from the 5. So in order to borrow from the 5, I know that I'm going to rename the 5 so that I can subtract 3/4 from it. So how do we do that? What you're going to do is you know that 1 is equal to 4/4. So this is 1 whole. I've separated it into 4 sections, so 1 is equal to 4/4. So we know that 5 is equal to 4 4/4. We want to keep the denominators the same, so that's why we chose fourths when we converted the 5 to 4 4/4, because my second fraction was already 3/4. Then from here, you can go ahead and begin to subtract. So in order to subtract from here, you're going to do 4 4/4 minus 2 3/4. Well, the fraction piece of it first, 4/4 minus 3/4 is 1/4. And the whole number piece of it, 4 minus 2, is 2. So we know that our answer is 2 1/4. This next example, we need a common denominator first. So we're going to change our common denominator to 14. The whole number stays as 5. We multiplied 7 by 2, so 3 times 2 is 6. And then our whole number is going to stay as a 1, but we have to change the 2 to a 14 by multiplying by 7, so 1 times 7 is 7. I cannot take 7/14 from 6/14, so I'm going to borrow, and I'm going to make this 4, and I have the 14/14 from what I borrowed, plus the 6/14 makes that 20/14. Another way you can think of that is 4 plus 14/14 plus 6/14. What does that all equal? That all equals 5 6/14. So this is just another way to break it down so that I can subtract, and then I'm still subtracting 1 7/14. Subtract the whole number first. 20 minus 7 gives me 13. I have 13/14. The denominator does not change. 4 minus 1 is 3. Is it in lowest terms? Yes, it is, so I'm finished. Go ahead and pause. Work out this problem on your own, and then when you're finished, hit play and see how you did. So now that you've finished the problem, our common denominator is 15. So 5 times 3, 2 times 3 is 6. Whole number was 6. 3 times 5 is 15. Whole number is still 3. 2 times 5 is 10. I can't take 10/15 from 6/15, so I borrow and make that 5. I have 15/15 that needs to be added on to the 6/15. So now I have 5 21/15. That is equivalent to 6 6/15. And I'm subtracting 3 10/15. Go ahead and subtract your numerator. So 21 minus 10 is 11. Denominator stays as 15. 5 minus 3 is 2. answer is complete. So let's go ahead and continue. We can't take 5/6 from 4/9. Can you borrow? Well, if we borrow, we have nothing to borrow from because our whole number is 0. So we can't take 5/6 from 4/9. So what you're going to do is you're going to switch the numbers and know that your answer is negative. Okay? First, let's find a common denominator. Our common denominator here is 36. So 9 times 4 is 36. 4 times 4 is 16. 6 times 6 is 36. So 6 times 5 is 30. Because I can't take 30 from 16, what you're going to do is you're going to switch the order around, and instead what you're going to do is you're going to do 30 over 36 minus 16 over 36. But because you did the switch, now your answer is negative. So now I know my answer is negative, just subtract. 30 minus 16 is 14, 36, but simplify it down to negative 7 over 18. So answer is negative 7/18. Okay, let's try the next one. We have 9 and 8, so our common denominator is 72. I did 9 times 8 to get 72, so 2 times 8 is 16. Do 8 times 9, so I also have to do 9 times 7, which is 63. I can't take 63 from 16, so I'm going to switch it. I'm going to do 63 over 72 minus 16 over 72, and I know my answer is negative because I've switched them. So then 63 minus 16 gives me 47. Denominator stays as 72. That is in lowest terms, so you are good. 2 3/8 minus 3 5/6. Common denominator here is 24, so we're going to go 2 stays the whole number, 24, we did 8 times 3, so 3 times 3 is 9. Whole number of 3 stays. 6 times 4 is 24, so 5 times 4 is 20. I cannot take 3 and 20 24ths from 2. The 3 and 20 24ths is a bigger number, so I know I can't subtract that. So then from here, what you're going to do is you can either change them both to improper fractions, which if you do that, you're going to do 24 times 2. And then add your 9, so that's going to give you 57 24ths. And you're going to do the 24 times 3 plus 20 gives you 92 24ths. Can't take 92 24ths from 57 24ths, so we're going to switch it around, and we're going to subtract 92 24ths minus 57 24ths. So then 92 minus 57 gives me 35 24ths. The last thing that you have to do is you know that your answer is negative because we switched, and you have to change it back to a mixed number. So 24 goes into 35 one time, don't forget it's negative, and then 35 minus 24 tells you that there's 11 left over. So final answer is negative 1 and 11 24. Last problem, our common denominator is 21. So we have 3 and 7 21ths minus 5 and 6 over 21. So I've found a common denominator of 21. And then the next thing that we need to do, I'm going to erase, give us some more room here. We need to change them both to improper fractions. So the last thing you do is you convert them both to improper fractions. You can't take 111 from 70, so you switch it. you subtract, and then you turn